You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast at savage.love.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
We are not talking about politics on today's show, but I have something to say here at the top of the show about a story that is, because we live in ridiculous times, kind of sort of politics adjacent, but I'm going to do my best to skirt the politics of this story and just address the faggotry of it. All right, so a puzzle for you, a conundrum. How does a man who has sex with a woman and has only ever had sex with women, how does that man become a faggot? Exactly how does that work? According to a Penn State football fan outside Beaver Stadium this weekend, a man who only has sex with women becomes a faggot by having sex with a rich and famous woman, a popular singer, with millions of gay fans. That would seem to be the argument being made by a troll who decided it would be a good idea to chase after former football player, current podcaster, and ESPN college football color commentator Jason Kelce on Saturday. Hey, Kelce, how does it feel that your brother is a faggot dating Taylor Swift? The troll shouted at Jason again and again, because I guess technically when you have sex with Taylor Swift, a pop star, a diva with millions of gay fans, you're not just having sex with her, you're also having sex with all of her gay fans. I guess that's how this works. If so, if this is how it works, kind of reminds me of those sexist abstinence-only education campaigns that warn boys that when they sleep with girls, they're not just sleeping with that girl, they're also sleeping with every other boy that that girl has ever slept with. Which means boys don't just have to worry about catching STIs from girls and every boy that girl ever slept with, but catching gay too, if a girl has gay fans, which pretty much all girls do. At some point, Jason heard this man shouting at him, lost his temper, and confronted the asshole who was making a video, because of course he was, and Jason grabbed the asshole's phone, hurled it to the ground, breaking it into what looked like a million tiny pieces, and then got in the troll's face and said, "Who's the faggot now?" Or as The Athletic awkwardly described the incident on Sunday, Jason Kelce slammed a Penn State football fan's phone on the ground after taunts and a homophobic slur were said toward him on Saturday, ahead of the Nittany Lions matchup against Ohio State. If you're gay like me, you instantly thought after reading that, what the fuck is a Nittany Lion? According to Penn State's website, it's a kind of mountain lion that roamed the area until 1880 before being moved out of the area. Kind of like Native Americans were moved out of the area. Anyway, quick point of order, faggots don't date Taylor Swift. She's written a lot of songs about her exes, and not one of those songs is about any one of us. And having straight sex with a hot, rich, famous woman does not make you gay. Not unless the rich and famous singer you married was Liza Minnelli. 2 of the 4 men Liza Minnelli married were gay, which means Liza batted .500, which is a great average in the American League, but not so great in the husband league if you're a straight woman. But while marrying Liza Minnelli may have been a pretty gay-coded thing for a man to do in the 1970s, dating Taylor Swift in the 2020s is about the single straightest thing a man could possibly do. Predictably, right-wingers jumped on Twitter and demanded that the gays cancel Jason and that we, the gays, threaten ESPN with what would be, if we launched it, the world's most ineffective boycott since evangelical Christians declared boycotts against, deep breath, Disney, Coke, Applebee's, Starbucks, McDonald's, Target, Walmart, Amazon, United, Google, Hilton, Marriott, Netflix, Southwest, YouTube, Whole Foods, Oreos, Pampers, Pepsi, Doritos, Tide, Tylenol, Tostitos, and Wheaties, and that's just a partial list. The gays responded to that call for us to boycott ESPN, which would be about as effective as straight men boycotting thongs and gay cruises with fuck the fuck off. Jason Kelce calling that asshole a faggot at that moment, we will allow it. This once, by this man, at this moment, for the record, it is not lost on us that 2 straight men were caught on tape calling each other faggot because faggot is the worst thing one straight man can call another straight man or his brother. But again, for the record, most gay men don't like to hear that word, don't want to hear anyone using that word except other gay men whose Dicks are literally in our mouths at the time. So before you use that word, ask yourself, am I a gay man? Is another gay man sucking my dick right now? Then I will pick a different insult. In other Jason and Travis Kelce news, the brothers shared some sex advice on the last installment of their podcast, New Heights. Jason advised a man going through a dry spell with his wife to pursue his wife by wearing skin-tight pants that, quote, show off the goods. Jason's wife, Kylie, who is presumably, like most men's wives, pretty familiar with her husband's goods, took to TikTok to warn men against taking her husband's sex advice. If I had to guess, based on my husband's dumbass response to this question, said Kylie, I would say that he's probably going to experience a spell of his wife not being interested. Tight pants. They have their time and place, bars and clubs and football fields. But tight pants at home, tight pants all day long, smush the goods. And the goods get sweaty when they're smushed, and sweaty goods get stinky, which isn't good. Also, tight pants, they can make the goods hard to access. No, if you really want to show off the goods, what you need at this time of year is a really good pair of loose gray sweatpants. All faggots know this. Faggots anticipate the arrival of guys in their gray sweatpants season, the same way basic bitches anticipate the arrival of pumpkin spice in their latte season, which Jason would have known if he'd bounced his sex advice off a gay friend first. And if Jason doesn't have any gay friends to run his sex advice past, maybe his younger brother's hot girlfriend, Taylor, could lend him 1 or 2 million of hers. All right, coming up on the show today, joining us on the micro and the Magnum, Michelle Renee, the founder of Soft Cock Appreciation Week, is here to talk about soft cocks and this annual celebration of soft cocks that kicks off November 10th. And on the Magnum only, Paul Rosenberg from Rain City Jacks joins me to talk about the surprising things that happen when 100 or more men, gay, bi, and some straight, get together to jack off. All that plus a ton of your calls, fun, crazy, kinky, weird, amazing calls, all designed, all selected by hand lovingly to provide you with a distraction right now on this day of all days when we all need distractions. Let's get to that first good distracting call. This episode is brought to you by Helix Sleep, the makers of My Mattress and Your Next Mattress. Right now, Helix is offering 25% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/savage. This is their best offer yet. It won't last long. Go get your new mattress. With Helix, better sleep starts now.
This episode of the Lovecast is brought to you by the good folks at Squarespace. They make it easy to build a beautiful website, blog, or online store. Head on over to squarespace.com/savage for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code SAVAGE to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
This episode is brought to you by Talkspace, therapy made easy. Get $80 off your first month when you go to Talkspace.com/savage and enter promo code SPACE80.
Hi, Dan, Nancy, and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. I'm a daddy, and I have a baby girl who is absolutely beautiful. And she does talk about how she's insecure about her breasts. And I was thinking about that saline infusion call and looked it up, and it seems like people do that for breasts. And it seems like the perfect thing because she often says she wishes she had larger breasts, but she doesn't want artificial breasts. And I don't think she even really wants anything permanent. I just think she'd like to have kind of like a Cinderella experience where we go to a kink party sometime and she just looks incredible and has the kind of breasts that she always dreamed of. She's pretty shy, so I don't think I could get her to go to a clinic, but I'm thinking maybe we could do it ourselves. Is something like that even possible? It may not be advisable, but I just thought I would check back in because I keep thinking about it, and you're Dan Savage.
I have to say that when I first heard your question, I was like, yeah, no, this sounds like a terrible idea. This sounds like something regular guest Dr. Brock would recoil in horror from and tell you not to do. And then, the person you mentioned that was on the show talking about saline injection, saline infusion play, Rob Wild, who's a gay porn star and content creator, and he does saline infusions into his balls and makes them just fucking enormous. And he walked us through the process and how you do that and how it's safe. And saline, when it is, just salt water put into the balls, eventually it's just absorbed into the body and the swelling goes away and no permanent damage is done. Unlike silicone injections, which some people have done, injecting silicone directly into their bodies, into their butts, into their hips, into their penises, scrotums, and that can literally fucking kill you if the silicone breaks down and gets into the bloodstream. Do not do silicone injections. But I thought saline injections into the boobs, well, that can't be safe. And then I did what I expect or assume you've already done, and I Googled that, only to discover that they're calling it the 24-hour breast augmentation, the 24-hour boob job, that this is a fad now. I learn something new every day. I learn from my listeners, readers, callers all the time. I did not know about this. Sounds like it's safe if there are people getting this done in doctors' offices. I read a little bit of a history about this 24-hour breast augmentation, saline infusions into the breast. And it said it was initially a way for women who were thinking about regular breast augmentation, silicone implants with the bags, not just silicone being injected directly into the body, to test out the size of the new breasts that they wanted to acquire. And some women just kind of dug this 24-hour breast augmentation with saline, where it blows up the boobs for the wedding or the party that you want to go to. And within 24 hours, the body has absorbed the saline and the boobs go back to their natural state. All right, so their original state. What should you do? Well, I guess daddy with the baby girl who is an adult human who is consenting to a kind of power exchange relationship with a man where she pretends to be a baby girl. What should you do? I don't think that you should do this yourself. You should do some Googling, like I did a little Googling, and find out what plastic surgery provider near you does these kinds of saline injections. Yeah, Rob Wild, porn star, has some experience doing this and does it to himself and with some other performers that he regularly creates content with, and he's gotten good at it. But you probably don't want to wing this yourself because an injection site could get infected. Where are you going to source the saline? Where are you going to get the hypodermic needles and the bags of saline? Unless you've got somebody there who's very experienced with saline infusion play, you're not going to want to wing this by yourself the first time. You either go to a professional who's doing these 24-hour breast augmentations, or you need to find somebody like Rob Wild who's very experienced with infusion play and can train you too on how to do it. But can you do it? Apparently, you can.
Hello, Magnum sub here, 37 Salt Lake City, Utah. So I was at this kind of kink party, and there were all sorts of performers and contraptions. And I tried to be as down for whatever as possible. And so I walk in and I see this machine. And it's essentially like a vacuum sealer, like the type of thing that you could put in your sous vide to suck out all the air. So I lay in this thing. It's got a hole for my mouth, a little claustrophobic, but I'm down, whatever. And it starts sucking and sucking and sucking. And I'm just getting more and more squished. And I don't hate it. I don't get it. Not really my jam, but I don't hate it. So I did the whole thing. It was fine. Very, very medium. But then after I get out of the machine, and when I say I was so disoriented, I could not walk straight. I was leaning against a wall. I threw up for hours. Is this normal? Was it just such an over sensory thing that it made me sick?
The thing you describe, the machine you describe, sounds to me like what the kinksters call a vac rack, a vacuum rack. A bondage rack where somebody's sort of spread out in bondage in an X form. A vac rack basically recreates that sensation for a person, but sealed between two sheets of latex. Basically, there's a frame and there's kind of a latex pillowcase, but adult human size, that goes over it, and then you attach it. You seal both ends, and there's a hole for the mouth so the person can breathe when they're inside of it. Then you attach a vacuum to it. That's the back part of back rack, and it sucks the air out. And it's almost like somebody becomes the steak or the chicken breast that's been heat sealed at the grocery store, or like the sous vide preparation that you mentioned that people might have to Google to figure out what the fuck that means. And you're basically sealed up inside this thing and you can't get out. It's a bondage device, popular among people who are into rubber and bondage. And there's a lot of overlap in the people into rubber and bondage communities. Surprised that they had one at a kink party, or a kind of kink party. Sounds like a real kink party, not a kind of a kink party. If they have a vac rack and anybody in Salt Lake City who wanders in can jump inside it. Surprised they had one there. The reaction you had after being in there. Yeah, maybe it was such an all-body sensory experience that you were overwhelmed, and that's why when you got out, you don't say how long you were in there, but when you got out, you were a little weak. Did anyone pay attention to you while you were in there? Was anyone using a vibrator on you or stimulating you in any other way? Was it a psychological reaction? Were you shocked and appalled at your own capacity for new experiences? Was this your first time in that kind of serious sensory deprivation style bondage? And did it leave you in this state where you were weak and stumbling and puking? I guess that's possible. I know a lot of people who've been in vac racks, and I follow a lot of people on social media who are into all sorts of kinds of kinks, including vac racks. And I've never seen this discussed as a possible risk for a first timer in a vac rack, that they're going to get out of that vac rack and not be able to walk or stand and then start puking their guts out, which has me thinking this might have been a coincidence. What did you have to eat there in Salt Lake City earlier in the day? I could see being in a vac rack for a while leaving you physically feeling a little weak and wobbly once you get out of that kind of intense sensory deprivation bondage. But I just can't see that kind of intense sensory deprivation bondage making you puke your guts out like you've got food poisoning or a terrible flu or something. So more than one thing can happen to a person in an evening. Possible you got into a vac rack, you're a little wobbly when you got out of it, and then it's possible that whatever it is you had for lunch or dinner didn't agree with you, and it coincidentally caught up with you at the same time you were feeling weak and wobbly after your first experience with really intense sensory deprivation style bondage in the vac rack at the kind of a kink party that you attended in Salt Lake fucking City. What the hell is going on in Salt Lake fucking City?
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. When you're ready to take your junky website to the next level, Squarespace will make it easy and painless to stand out and succeed online. Start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. You choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build your own online presence from the ground up, tailored to your special style and optimized for every device. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated, optimized SEO tools so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. And you can sell exclusive content on your site by adding a paywall to sell memberships or courses, or sell files your customers can download like PDFs, music, or ebooks. This would be cripplingly difficult for my band to set up on our own, so we're very glad to use Squarespace's tools. It's just so easy and it works perfectly. Head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/savage and use the offer code SAVAGE to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/savage and use the offer code SAVAGE.
Dan, this is just plain fucking weird, and I wish I were making it up. So I have discovered that my cat is into S&M. And the reason I discovered it is because after my dog died, they're about the same size. They were best friends. Well, after my dog died, my cat started asking me to rub her in a very aggressive way and wanting me to rub her neck and pull her neck and bite her, and she'll climb into bed. I'll give her her regular pets. Then she sticks her butt in the air, which cats are known to do. And so I may rub her hips a little bit. And then she starts to make this insane meow, this angry meow, this anguished meow. And I think I'm hurting her. And so I stop, and then she meows at me and gets mad that I'm not petting her. She whips me with her tail, Dan. And then, like, she kind of moves her neck like she wants me to pull on her. There have been times when I've given her love bites just to say hello, because that's kind of her thing. She wants me to bite her. She wants me to dominate her, and I just fucking can't. I won't. And she treats me like I'm an asshole when I don't. Like I said, she's grieving the loss of her canine partner, who was the 3Gs and apparently did all sorts of things. How can I honor her grieving process in a way that she understands? Because when I don't do it, she feels rejected and she gets depressed. How can I honor her grieving process in a way that she'll understand, but doesn't violate the 3Gs? Because I am so not game. There is no consent here, and I just can't explain it to her.
I don't think the 3Gs are relevant to this situation. GGG, good, giving, and game for anything within reason. What we should be for our sex partners and what our sex partners should be for us. Your cat, not your sex partner. And I think you're projecting onto your cat assumptions about the kind of physical affection your cat is seeking from you right now that are human. You're anthropomorphizing your cat a little bit because this feels rough to you. You're equating the kind of physical attention your cat needs and wants from you at this moment during your cat's grieving process with some sort of S&M. And since you're uncomfortable roughing your cat up in the way your cat apparently wants to be roughed up right now, you're ascribing that, you're sexualizing this in a way that I just think is creepy or weird or unnecessary. Cat sex, which is not what you're being asked to have. Cat sex, when you read about it, sounds terrible. Looking at cats.com, cat sex is violent, swift, and does not appear to be pleasurable, at least for the female. Female cats, who are called queens, go into heat. They stick their asses in the air around available males called toms. And a male will mount a female cat, sink his teeth into her back, and shove his barbed penis into her vagina, which scrapes her insides up. And the cat, the female cat, the queen, who is just in heat one barbed penis ago, then regrets it and tries to get away but can't because the male cat is on top of her with his teeth in her neck. So maybe the love biting with your cat is some vestigial kind of deep sense memory for your cat, which is, I assume, spade of some sort of normative cat sexual behavior, and you might want to knock that off or not. Maybe it doesn't mean that at all. We don't know what it means to your cat, but it's not sexual. Your cat just wants to be held, petted, and roughed up a little bit. Let's assume that your cat's friendship with your recently deceased dog, and my heart goes out to you at the loss of your pet, involved a kind of affectionate roughhousing that may have gone on when you weren't home to witness it. And it is that kind of physical sensation, attention that your cat requires right now, or maybe your cat just wants more attention right now because your cat is indeed, as you've said, sad that she's lost her companion, playmate, your dog. So give your cat that attention and don't sexualize that attention. Don't make assumptions about what your cat is getting out of it, because I don't think what your cat is getting out of it is some BDSM kind of experience or high. Your cat is just getting a little bit of attention from you, the only living thing in her world that exists to pay her any attention and physical affection at all at this moment. So yeah, maybe your cat's being weird, but you don't have to match your cat's weirdness by being weird yourself and ascribing to your cat's sexual motives where there are none. Good night, everybody. I am just about to crawl into bed. I record at home in my little podcasting studio, sometimes late at night. This is one of those nights. Crawling into bed. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep well because, not to brag, I have a Helix sleep mattress. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe collection. That's ours. That's what we have at the house. The newly released Helix Elite collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. To figure out which mattress is right for you, go take the Helix Sleep Quiz to find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes, and your personalized mattress will be shipped straight to your door free of charge. And with their 100-night sleep trial, you can try out your new Helix mattress, see how your body adjusts, and if you decide it's not the best fit, you're welcome to return it for a full refund. Helix offers models with memory foam layers to provide optimal pressure relief if you sleep on your side, or models with a more responsive foam to cradle your body for essential support for stomach and back sleeping positions. Plus, Helix has enhanced cooling features to keep you from overheating at night, which is something I am prone to. Unlike a lot of mattress companies out there, Helix owns its own manufacturing facility. Each and every Helix mattress is made by a team of skilled manufacturers and shipped directly from their facility to your door. And again, Helix offers a 100-night trial and a 10 to 15-year warranty, so you can try out your new Helix mattress worry-free. And right now, Helix is offering 25% off site-wide plus 2 free Dream pillows with any mattress purchase. They're also offering a free bedding bundle. That's 2 Dream pillows, a sheet set, a mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. Go to helixsleep.com/savage. That's helixsleep.com/savage. Let them know the Lovecast sent you. With Helix, better sleep starts now. We're going to take a quick break from your calls for a new segment. We're going to try out a new segment we're going to call Elevator Pitch. And joining us for our first ever Elevator Pitch, Michelle Renee, a surrogate partner and professional cuddler, which was the job I wanted, but Michelle got, based in San Diego. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
You're doing a thing in addition to professional cuddling, which to me sounds like a nightmare position. I'm glad you have that gig, that I don't have that gig. I have my gig, you have your gig. Cuddling. Strangers. I'm getting hives. Anyway, you're doing a thing in addition to surrogate partnering and pro cuddling. You have a project that you want as Savage Love listeners to know about. Give us the elevator pitch. What is it?
Awesome. Join us this year, November 10th through the 16th, for the 3rd annual Soft Cock Week, which is an appreciation week for the soft penis, where we celebrate, educate, and normalize erectile differences. It's a wonderful week that we hope all of your listeners will come check out.
Erectile differences. That sounds like one of those shifts in progressive language, like from sex reassignment surgery to gender affirming care. What do you mean by erectile differences as opposed to erectile dysfunction?
Yeah, so of course, erectile dysfunction, or ED, could be a medical problem. We always want you to go get checked out by your doctor if you're noticing a change in your erections. But here's the thing. There's a lot of really gratifying sex to be had that's not erect penis focused, right? So we might say we're queering everyone's sex. I don't know. We're taking away the idea that you have to have a certain kind of erection to enjoy sex.
I'm all for that. I've been extolling the virtues for years of outer course and also taking dick off the menu, which for some guys who have ED can really take the pressure off. And a guy who couldn't get an erection because he needed one at that moment for penetration, when the focus shifts to cunnilingus or something else, is suddenly rock hard because they don't have performance anxiety because the performance wasn't demanded or expected in that moment of them anymore. But It must be more than just like taking the pressure off the dick, taking the focus off the dick. What else is Soft Cock Week trying to accomplish?
Well, we want to say that there's different ways to treat erectile dysfunction outside the medical model. So we have over 15 hours of recorded programming that week that is going to talk to penis owners that have erectile issues, but also professionals that work outside the regular medical model that might help you either correct the situation or be okay with what's showing up. Right? We all deserve to have sexual pleasure in our lives, and we need to have a more expanded view of what that could look like.
So is there a soft cock pride flag yet? When is that going to happen?
I don't know. We haven't picked our colors yet, but we have a great logo. We have a great logo you've got to check out. It's a relaxed rooster in a hammock. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Think about it. Most penises are soft 90% of the time. We walk around, I don't have a penis, but penis owners walk around with a relaxed penis most of the time.
Now, it's not like soft cocks never get any love. When you go to the Louvre or you go to the Prado, you go to any museum and you see a lot of classical art, not a lot of erections on those statues. They're soft cocks. Marble soft cocks, but soft. Yeah. The portrayal of soft cocks in rock hard marble.
Yeah, there was something, I think, back in the day where that was more regal to be seen soft, which I think would be awesome to bring back, which reminds me, we're going to have Soft Cock Erotica as an open mic as part of our events this year.
Yeah. What are the events? How do you celebrate soft cocks?
Yeah.
I assume there's not a parade. What is there?
We have lots of offerings. We have the 15 hours of recorded content that is really varied, including King Noir and Jet Setting Jasmine are coming in to talk about soft cock on porn sets, which I think is probably my most anticipated for myself recording. I have a great hostess that has set up all these fantastic recordings. She's also going to be hosting a Soft Place to Land, which will be like a daily office hours kind of space where people can come in and talk about their experiences, have someone listen, and just have community space every day. And then there'll be this open mic event that I just mentioned where people can come in and let's celebrate the eroticism of a soft penis. I'm so excited for this.
What is the eroticism of a soft penis? So many people attach importance to the erection as a signifier of arousal and desire. Even the person in the room who may not have the penis will read into the penis being erect a confirmation of their attractiveness, and will attach a lot of importance to the ability of the penis haver or havers in the room's ability to get hard. So how do you de-center that? How does somebody with a soft cock effectively communicate to somebody who is hoping for and expecting an erection that them showing up with that soft dick is also affirming of their attractiveness and desirability?
Well, that's a reprogramming that we have to do as society, right? To quit having that internal feeling as a woman that something is wrong with me if my partner isn't hard, right? I look at a soft penis, because I don't have that story going on in my head, as approachable. There's something really, it draws me to it. And my co-host, Erica Leroy, she likes to say, I like to greet every penis I come in front of and say, thank you. It's so lovely to be here with you. And she says, so often they actually respond. The penis responds to that, right? But I want my partners to know.
Wait, I'm sorry. If the penises are talking to your friend, I think your friend might have a problem besides the soft dicks.
You know that little movement they do?
Oh yeah, they twitch.
They do respond to being talked to, like your plants probably respond to being talked to. Isn't science say that is true, right?
I think maybe science says that.
But if we can bring levity into the bedroom, right? If we can take that pressure off, if sometimes it's learning how to talk about with your new partner, hey, sometimes when I show up for sex the first time, my penis doesn't show up the way that I want it to. I want you to know it has nothing to do with you, right? How do we get ahead of this? How do we normalize it? How do we get comfortable talking about it?
What would the flip side of this be for vagina havers? Dry pussy week is not a thing, I don't think.
No, but do we all know about responsive desire? This idea that I don't get spontaneously turned on, it's kind of the same idea, is that I go into I'm a responsive desire person. I go into sex and I have to go, gosh, I hope my desire shows up. What if it doesn't? There are days that I'm not there, like in my head, which then connects to my vulva, right?
Yeah, responsive desire is a really tricky subject because you can wind up sounding like you're encouraging usually women, most people with responsive desire are women, to start having sex they may not think they want to have because it might kick in, and then they'll realize they did want to have it, or they'll be glad they started because now they want to have it. But because it's so freighted because of the pressure on women to meet male, usually men's expectations and serve men, that responsive desire is real. And many people have it, and not just women, but mostly women. But it's a tricky thing to talk about.
Let me say this. Barry McCarthy, very famous sex therapist, talks about in later in relationships, it is almost always men that stop initiating sex because the erection is not guaranteed. And that is the same thing as having to learn about responsive desire. They're so used to having spontaneous erections, they don't know what to do with it, and they're afraid to show up and have their erection not show up with them.
I think that if Soft Cock Week accomplishes nothing else, I think that would be really important, because men, as they age, can be very resistant to how their dicks change, how their responsiveness when it comes to desire and arousal changes. And I hear from people, not always women, mostly women, whose husbands or boyfriends are like, they've been together 10, 20 years, they're initiating a lot less. And I think this is an under sort of reported or under discussed reason why men might initiate less, because they have this anxiety around whether or not they're going to be able to show up with the erection that 10 years ago was reliable, or 20 years ago was reliable and always there. And it only takes one or two times where your partner has a meltdown and freaks out, and it's like, you're not attracted to me anymore. Otherwise you would be hard now, like you always were before, for a guy to get really gun shy.
Yeah, self-conscious for sure. Absolutely. And you know, this is the third year. I think last year I talked about that responsive desire education almost in every podcast episode. We did 7 podcast episodes last year for the week, just talking about soft cock. And I think I mentioned it every episode.
Okay, Soft Cock Week. Finally, people are paying attention to dick. We haven't been paying enough attention to dick around here in our culture. Really happy to hear about Soft Cock Week. Softcockweek.com. When does Soft Cock Week kick off this year?
Yeah, we kick off Sunday, November 10th. You can find us at softcockweek.com. Sign up for our newsletter, because our program is going to be launching with all of our great 15 hours of great listening.
Michelle, Renee, surrogate partner, professional cuddler. I'm going to have you back on sometime when we get a call about professional cuddling or cuddling. Thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us your elevator pitch for Soft Cock Week.
Thanks, Dan.
This episode is brought to you by Talkspace. Did you know that November is Men's Health Awareness Month? Fellas, you can prioritize your health by prioritizing your mental health with Talkspace. Talkspace is affordable. Therapy and psychiatry are covered by many insurance plans and by many employers. Most insured members have a $0 copay. You can easily sign up for Talkspace online and get paired with a licensed provider who will fit your needs well, typically within 48 hours. And you can always switch providers at no extra cost. Talkspace makes getting help convenient because you can attend your sessions from the comfort and privacy of your own home. You can even talk it out between sessions by sending text, video, or audio messages to your therapist. Talkspace provides personalized treatment for individuals, couples, the LGBTQIA+ community, veterans, and teens. And for Men's Health Awareness Month, remember that Talkspace is here to help you with therapy on your terms. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/savage and enter the promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/savage, promo code SPACE80. Do it now.
Hi, Dan, Nancy. Can we get rid of the phrase fuck the shit out of? I'm a big fan of anal sex as a top, and I don't like pooping my sex. Sure, it happens, but most of us don't consider that desirable. I don't want to fuck the shit out of someone. I want their shit either safely inside them or in the sewer system, camping and composting toilets aside. Even fuck the piss out of seems more attractive, while maintaining a bit of that subversive, over-the-top, and oh-so more so than fucking the come out of, which, in most instances, is what we're usually hoping for. I'm a het guy. I'm quite happy when my partner squirts while I'm pounding their ass, but that wouldn't apply to folks with penises, and those with vaginas who don't squirt. So let's go with piss. Unless someone has a better idea, no more poop, please.
It's a figure of speech. Fuck the shit out of somebody. It's not invoking literal shit being fucked out of the person that you're fucking. It's just an expression. Just in the same way when you talk about running into a friend on the street and you two shoot the shit, you're not talking about exercising your Second Amendment rights all over a turd. You call somebody a shithead, you don't mean that they have poop for a cranium. If you call somebody shit-faced, you don't mean that they have literal shit on their face. You mean that they're drunk or fucked up. But if it really bothers you, you can tell the people that you are fucking the hell out of or fucking the fuck out of that you don't want them to say fucking the shit out of, but you can't control or stop other people from using this very common expression, this idiom that's in wide circulation. It's not going anywhere. And so rather than attempt to edit the speech of all other people on the planet who might be using this expression at some time in their lives, but never in front of you or with you, instead of worrying about what other people are saying, just control what you can control, which is what you say, what you do. And if you're ever with somebody who says, I want you to fuck the shit out of me, you can go, yeah, no. Just like some gay men, when like a younger gay man says, I want you to fuck my cunt or pussy, will say, yeah, let's just call it your butt. Let's call it your ass. That works for me. But let's not call it your pussy. It doesn't work for me. You have to say, this doesn't work for me. But come on, we use the expression, I'm going to fuck your brains out, just about as often as we use the expression, I'm going to fuck the shit out of you. And nobody expects or really even pictures gray matter splattered all over the bed sheets after they've fucked the brains out of somebody. So you don't have to go there. This is a you problem. When somebody says, I got the shit fucked out of me, that you imagine or go to feces, that's a you problem. So whatever part of your brain, when somebody says, I want you to fuck my brains out, isn't thinking head wound or headshot or major trauma or gray matter all over the bedspread, that part of your brain can do the same two-step when somebody says, fuck the shit out of me, or you hear somebody use that expression. You don't have to picture poop.
Hi, Dan. This is a cisgender female dominant, and I have a sub who lives overseas right now. We haven't had a chance to play in person, but we've been sexting heavily. And I've run out of things for him to do. We're both kind of new at this. I mean, I have some experience. He's brand new. So I am wondering if there are any good resources, either books or on the net, for tasks I can set him that he can do while he is at home at night and we're texting. For example, one of the things I've made him do is go out and buy a pair of panties. He's really into sissification and humiliation. So I made him buy panties, wear them, and take pictures and send them to me. That's worked well. He's liked that a lot. But he's ready for something a little bit more high level. So I told him to go and buy a butt plug, and he's never used one before. So I'm trying to think of tasks that I could get him to do with a butt plug. And again, he's new at this, and I don't have a lot of good ideas. So I'm wondering if there's any way you could kind of help me with this. Give me some tips. I'm doing some net searching, but nothing's really good coming up. Most of it seems to be for male doms and sub women, and that's not the case here.
I'm not aware of any books specifically of tasks for subs and dom-sub relationships, particularly long-distance dom-sub relationships. But if you're looking for tasks, things that you can get him to do with a butt plug, you could tell him to put it in. You could tell him to leave it in. You could tell him to carry it around in his backpack or briefcase. And when he gets a message from you, he has to drop everything and go put it in, whether he's at work or the gym or on the subway. You can do all those same things with a cock cage. Order him to lock it on his dick. Some cock cages have locks that can be operated over the internet. Tests have shown that those internet-enabled cock cages, the locks on them, are easily hacked. So there's some risk. Russian hackers will seize control of your sub's cock. I don't think it's too great a risk. Most cock cages, like most dom-sub relationships, kind of operate on the honor system. You can, in an emergency, get them off. You can, in an emergency, usually cut the flimsy, even if they're little steel padlocks, you can cut those flimsy padlocks off pretty easily. Look, you're in a dom-sub relationship from afar with someone you've never met. Your control over him right now is purely psychological. You can exercise your control to the extent he's willing to cooperate. So for now, I think, particularly in early stages of DS relationships, a new DS relationship, a new DS experience for both of you, you want to keep those tasks, which are really asks, small, reasonable, and doable. Like he can only masturbate with your permission, which you don't always grant. Again, it's the honor system, but all DS relationships are the honor system when the sub is out of the dom's sight. You could also FaceTime with him once in a while. You can make him kneel in a corner with his butt plug in and point the computer at himself at that corner before he goes and kneels in it. And then he has to stay there and he doesn't know if you're watching him or not. And he has to stay there, butt plug in, butt plug facing the camera until you tell him that he can get up. There's lots of ways to play from afar. If there's anybody out there listening who has some suggestions for this caller, go ahead and drop them into the comment thread on the website, savage.love, on the comment thread for this specific show, and we will make sure that they get to this caller. But your ask caller, are there books with lists of tasks specifically for subs in DS relationships who are on different continents? I don't think anybody has written that book yet. But if you two continue to explore and you have a really good time and you figure out what works for him, maybe you could write that book. Time for listener feedback. First up, some of the comments left on last week's show in the very lively comment threads at savage.love. Says Cam Fox about the discussion recently of straight identified men who are into dicks but not dudes. I'm late to this discussion, but as a trans man on Scruff, there absolutely are gay men who are specifically into pussy but not into women. And they don't appear to be rare. The ones I've met only developed their thing for pussy after incidentally hooking up with a trans man in a gave it a try, found out that I preferred it way. About the man living in the woods with his fiancée in a poly relationship who is currently housing a hot Italian laborer who's working on their house with them, who hooked up with his fiancée, says inspired desires. I'm going to gently disagree with Dan on the advice to the poly caller who feels betrayed. I see this happen a lot with newly poly relationships. The attempt to build security by rules and gatekeeping and trying to run your partner's relationships through you. It almost never works. It is controlling and gives so many chances for people to feel betrayed and add stress. I agree with you, Inspired Desires. I think that was the gist of my advice to that caller, was basically your advice. Says Happy Hubby, also about the same call. I agree with Dan's response, and I'll add our experience. We also participate in ethical non-monogamy, specifically hot wifing. We spent years discussing it before our first experience. We initially set all kinds of rules and boundaries, but knowing we would likely encounter something in a steamy moment we didn't anticipate, we agreed to pre-forgive minor lapses. If something during the encounter rubbed us the wrong way, we'd discuss it the next day. Knowing we had a little extra latitude and didn't have to be so vigilant in the moment took the pressure off, and 7 years later, we're still having exciting adventures and lots of fun. I like the concept of pre-forgiveness. Thank you for sharing, and not just for open or poly relationships and not just for sex. But like GGG, it seems to me a concept that could be abused or weaponized by bad actors, which of course GGG has been sometimes, to pressure people into doing things they don't really ever want to do or try. But if you're with someone who's not an asshole and isn't manipulative, embracing pre-forgiveness won't eliminate conflict. Happy Hubby and his wife still had to discuss things that rubbed them the wrong way the next day. But it could make that conflict less corrosive. And striking a balance between letting some small things go during the encounter and making sure everyone is empowered to call for a pause and a reset during an encounter that really isn't working for them, that seems like a recipe for successful encounters, for successful open or poly adventures. For more listener feedback and to try your hand at giving some advice yourself, be sure to check out Struggle Session every Thursday, where I respond to listener and reader comments and post a letter that isn't going to make it into Savage Love the column and let you, my readers, my listeners, give the advice yourselves. And now, everyone's favorite part of the show, the part where I shut my big gay mouth and let listeners get the last word.
This is in response to the caller whose partner slept with someone else before getting permission and broke their agreement. I agree with what Dan said, but one thing I wanted to point out is I think that this caller needs to sit down with himself and with his girlfriend and figure out some other ways that he can feel safe and secure in the relationship. It seems like his safety and security is dependent on things that are ultimately outside of his control, like the speed and pace of what his partner is doing with someone, when and where, when really the safety and security needs to be driven by things within his control, within his own relationship. So things that him and his partner can do for and with each other to help strengthen that sense that he's looking for. I would also suggest that this caller work on developing more tools for his toolkit to help regulate his own nervous system. While his partner can provide some support, some validation, and some reassurance, he's really got to figure out and address why his nervous system is responding this way, and then figure out some ways to soothe it when it's happening and not put that burden on his partner, especially because he says he wants to be supportive and she doesn't experience these connections very often.
I'm calling with a response for the guy who was taking pictures of people on the street and then someone got mad. Yeah, of course they fucking got mad. Why would you do that? I think Dan's response was good, but also lacked the perspective of when this happens to women. This used to happen to me all the time when I lived in the city, and it's so awful. It's a bad feeling. It's never like a photographer doing this. It's not someone who's trying to capture the beauty of New York City. It's a creep. And women end up on porn sites all the time without knowing, because creeps photograph them or video them without their consent. People lose jobs over that. I don't know. It's fucked up on a lot of levels. Not just that you think women are placed in your life so that you can look at them rather than people who are like on their way to work or with their kids or whatever people are doing when you think that you're entitled to photographing them working in the example that this person gave. No, I do not want to be photographed in my place of work without my consent, obviously. Also, I happen to have really big boobs and I can't always put them away. Bras are shitty and they don't perfectly package them up. And I'm not wearing them for you to look at. I'm not wearing them out so that you can photograph them. I'm just doing my best to exist in the body that I have. It's not my fault that I have boobs. They're not inherently sexual. In fact, you are sexualizing them. Don't take pictures of them. Obviously, what the fuck? Don't do that to other people. Take pictures of people who consented to that because it's what they want.
Hey Dan, pansexual woman from Seattle responding to the caller from episode 939 about if there's a stereotype of gay bullies in middle and high school. I personally dealt with that a lot from women. When I came out in high school originally as a lesbian and later realized I was pansexual, all the same girls that I was making out with and scissoring and fingering in middle school all were Christian girls that later totally banished me from hanging out with them or being near them when I came out and started all these crazy rumors about me. So that's totally a thing. And not just gay men, those gay women. Yeah, they definitely loved it when I was scissoring the shit out of them. And we would make out all the time and do so much gay shit. They were who made me realize I was gay. And those same girls put me on their prayer lists at their churches. Crazy, crazy shit.
And we're going to leave it there. Got a burning question you need answered? Got something to say about something I said? You can record your question or your comment on our website at savage.love/askdan, or you can make a voice memo on your very own phone and email it to us at q@savage.love, or you can call our landline. Yes, our landline. And leave us a message at 206-302-2064. Hump 2024 Part 2 plays in Austin, screens in Austin, Texas this weekend. For tickets to that Hump screening or to get a streaming pass to watch Hump at home, go to humpfilmfest.com. And while you're there, be sure to click on Submit a Film to find out everything you need to know about getting your dirty little movie into the best dirty little film festival in the world. If you've been to Hump, you know some films are elaborate productions, but others are short clips filmed on people's cell phones, which means your award-winning, money-making Hump film might already be in your pocket. Follow me on Instagram and Threads at Dan Savage. Follow me at Blue Sky at Dan Savage. Follow Michelle Renee on Twitter at The Trojan Kitten. For more on Soft Cock Week, check out softcockweek.com. And to find out about Rain City Jacks, go to raincityjacks.org. And season 2 of Paul Rosenberg's podcast, Heart of Jacks, is coming soon too on all podcasting platforms. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. And Nancy, we will all be back at you next week with an installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thank you, as ever, for downloading.